So, let me get at y'all with some boxing talk. And right now, I just want to talk about Deontay Wilder. And there's been a lot of talk, well, not a lot of talk, but just talks about where he stands right now in boxing. You see, from a Deontay Wilder fan standpoint, they want to see him go out with the win. Deontay more than likely wants to go out with the win. But just any win, does it matter just to say, okay, I won my last fight against just anyone? To many, it would be, okay, at least he won. And they'd be satisfied to say his last fight was a win, regardless to who it was against. But deep down inside, Deontay wants to win a championship. Being capable of doing it is the question. In terms of his fans, they want him to win a championship too. But they don't have any more confidence in Deontay than he has in himself, because at this point, if reality hasn't set in by now, and it has with a lot of people, they just don't know how to be honest about it. See, you can look at Muhammad Ali, for example. And I'm going to bring up Muhammad Ali because Malik Scott said Deontay Wilder was 10 times better than Muhammad Ali. So, when you look at Muhammad Ali's career, you know, he won an Olympic gold medal. Not a silver, not a bronze, but gold. He basically came in, and racism is still here. It's still here, and it's strong. But he came in a time where basically Ali did things and was smart and understood what he had to do, what he needed to do to get his name out there and become even more popular. So he embraced the whole bad guy role just by talking, bragging, and pretty much instead of people laughing at it and being entertained by it, they took it like, you know, hey, who is this big mouth nigga? And they hated Ali for more reasons than just that. Because if somebody non-black would have done the same thing, they would have been praising them like people do Conor McGregor and how they do Tyson Fury and what's this other guy, Mike Perry, how they did Ronda Rousey. They do the same things. Okay, well, for Muhammad Ali, when you look at his boxing career, Muhammad Ali has a lot of great matches. He had a lot of great moments. See, even if it was him getting dropped by Henry Cooper in their first fight and him getting up and taking over that fight at a very young age and defeating a veteran. You know, whether it was the, what's my name? Huh? What's my name? I'm a beat respecting to you. Whether it was him beating Floyd Patterson, you know, whether it was him, you know, picking apart, you know, Sonny Liston. Whether it was how he went there and beautifully just showed graceful boxing and just took out Cleveland Williams. I mean, whether it was the wars of Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, you know, George Foreman, you know, but bottom line is Muhammad Ali had some great fights, and you can sit back and take your pick on what you want to watch. I mean, he had a lot of great moments in his career. Now, when you look at Deontay basically, they say the same things about him. The right hand. He knocked out 40 plus opponents. Has the highest knockout ratio in heavyweight history. All of these things that they say, but they can't say he had any classic fights. The best fights that he had and won was against Luis Ortiz, who was a guy who pretty much was never world champion and never achieved anything in the sport of boxing at a high level. And so what people say to try to counter that is, well, he was the boogeyman, nobody wanted to fight him, when we all clearly remember that he turned the fight down with Anthony Joshua to fight Deontay Wilder. So when you look at that, and you look at the fact that when Wilder was on a high note, he basically let opportunities slip by him by thinking he was a bigger star than what he was. So now they know for him to retire, it doesn't matter. Nobody talks about his fights. And basically, the biggest fights that he had was against Fury, and he lost. Got a draw and lost too. So when you break his career down, what exactly did he accomplish against the top level fighters? He failed to do that. There's no way you can compare him to Muhammad Ali in skill level. And there's no way that you can compare him to Muhammad Ali in terms of accomplishments. So him knocking out guys that nobody really knew, nobody really cared about, that's really, the highlight of his career was just he knocked out a lot of guys. It's not about having classic fights. It's not about him having a library full of like memorable moments where these were just fights that I just have to watch. He has no fights where I just have to see this fight. But the closest thing that he has, is basically for him to have that, it's all against who? Tyson Fury, which he got the short end of the stick. So he has no wins over any top level names. That being said, Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois are getting ready to fight in the UK in front of 96,000 people. 96,000. So when it looked like Anthony Joshua was on the decline and people thought he'd never, like Robert Garcia said, no, you can't fix that. He can't be fixed. Nope, he's done. Then he took the job. Even though he said AJ can't be fixed. But AJ did a complete turnaround and had everybody go, whoa, did y'all see what AJ just did? Oh, did y'all see what AJ just did again? And he's still going strong. Now, for Tyson Fury, he lost to Usyk, but he's still up in the top level of fighters, and he's still there. So, out of the three, the one who's not still there in the spotlight is Deontay Wilder. Now, that being said, the American heavyweight scene is extremely weak. So, after Deontay, pretty much, who's out there? They wanted to see what Jared Anderson had, and pretty much it's not just a Bacoli thing. There's other guys who would do the same type of things to Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson showed what he has and what he doesn't have. Jared Anderson isn't that guy. And pretty much, here's a guy who doesn't even take boxing as serious. I mean, he's a guy who said he doesn't need belts to validate him. He said that he's all about the money, and I always said, well, how are you going to make big money without creating a buzz and meaning something? I mean, who doesn't want to be a champion? I don't think Jared Anderson's heart is in it. And pretty much after that fight that lost to Bacoli, he may never really have the same confidence in himself going up against other guys that can punch. Simply because the first time he really steps up, and pretty much, like he said, he was ready to step up a long time ago, but he failed so miserably. You always want to beat the guy that beat you. And Jared Anderson has been extremely quiet. And I think he wants no parts of Bacoli. So with that all being said, well, for Deontay, if he ends up in another top level fight, everybody knows by now that pretty much this is just giving him a chance, giving him. So even if he's a sacrificial lamb for someone, he has to do what people don't expect him to do, and that's pull off the win. And if he can knock someone out and pretty much not have to do it again, and I'm not saying give him favors, they've already been protecting him and showing him that favoritism throughout his career. What I'm saying though is, if he did something so spectacular, or just did what he was known for, normally was doing against lower level guys, and then say he got a vicious knockout, well, what would happen is they would, last time when it happened, AJ held his end of the bargain and Wilder didn't. So the fight was off. Then he fought Parker. It was like, okay. Fought Zhang. Same thing again. So it's not about giving him. It's just if he did something enough to spark an interest. And that's going to happen. And that would have to happen against a top level guy. This is the thing that people are overlooking about Wilder's situation. Is for him to go in there and say, fight another Robert Helenius level guy and win. Okay. Now, we've seen you do that already. We've seen you beat a Jarrell Miller and do Hampus and guys like that. Now, let's see you do this against top-level guys, and that's the thing for Wilder. Either he's going to pull off the win or he's not. But at this point, it's just desperation. And I haven't heard Wilder say anything. I'm looking at him looking at the situation with Wilder, because, the way things turned around, and I said a long time ago, when you avoid fights, man, and it wasn't just about Wilder, it's anybody. When you avoid the big fights and you think that you're some huge star, that could turn around and it could haunt you, and it did with him. So when we talk about great American heavyweights, I feel like Deontay Wilder himself want to do something to go out with a bang. He wants a big payday, but they have to be strategic with who they fight. And Wilder, despite the fans that may try to, act as if, he's not in a desperate situation, like he said at the Zhang fight, last chance, last dance, last chance. And here again, his name is coming up. So I don't know who Wilder has in mind, but as I just said in the previous video, it's not about just putting him in there with someone just for the sake of making the fight happen. And that would be Turki Al-Sheikh going against his own words. It's all about earning. So I don't think Wilder, I didn't think he'd take the bait for this whole Bridgerweight stuff. I just feel like it's not only desperation at that point, but it's waving the white flag. I cannot compete with the heavyweights, and he's been a heavyweight all his career, just because Mauricio Suleiman comes with this Bridgerweight thing. And mind you, the Bridgerweight thing is not with the IBF, the WBA, the WBC. It's only WBA, WBO. It's only with the WBC. So even still, my whole thing with that is this: if he was to end up going to this Bridgerweight, there's absolutely nobody there that he could beat that people even care about. So for Deontay, if he really look at his career, he needs to understand he's already reached his peak and he's not going to get any better. And trying to go out with something to prove and not becoming a better fighter and just depending on what you've normally done, and you've seen it not work 2 fights in a row, I feel like it's better for Deontay to just move on. Now, it's up to him what he chooses to do, of course. But it's like, man, look, your career is as good as it was. And you look at other people and they go, look what happened with AJ. Yeah, but see, the thing with AJ is AJ always could box. AJ wasn't a limited fighter. He could always box. AJ just lost his confidence somewhere in the mix, and we know how things went, but he's back. He's back. And he only lost, after the Ruiz fight, he lost, he avenged that. And then, of course, the 2 losses to Usyk. And so, bottom line is with him, AJ is a whole different fighter right now. So, he's bounced back. Now, Fury, we're going to see if he can bounce back. And if Fury loses this fight, what I was thinking is, not that I would be interested in this fight, but I'm thinking if Fury loses this fight, we just may get Wilder Fury 4. Because when you really think about it, there's nobody else that Wilder can fight that's going to get any hype that people care about other than AJ. And pretty much it would be a thing of all the Wilder fans crossing their fingers, hoping he can land something to get AJ out of there, but fearful because they know that AJ can crack with either hand. And nobody in their right mind really see Deontay Wilder beating Anthony Joshua. I never saw him beating Anthony Joshua. But at least with Fury, they have a storyline. You see, and if Fury loses to Usyk, it would give the Wilder fans more hope that Wilder probably can pull this off now. It might even give Wilder more hope. We'll see how that goes. But I thought about that a couple of days ago. Actually, a while ago. And I just, got back to making my videos again. So when I look at it, I said, you know what? That just might be the ticket. But how many redemption stories can you have? You understand what I'm saying? So the difference with Wilder is he's been thrown a bone twice already. Wilder needs to cash in and win. That's what he needs to do. If he was to beat Fury, it could put him in position to fight AJ or Usyk. Because honestly, to try to put him in there with AJ just for the sake of making a fight, like I said last time, it just defeats what Turki, the whole purpose of why he did what he did with boxing in the first place. Because now we're just giving fights out with politicking now. And that's not what we want to see Turkey do, is start politicking. Let's get the fights. Let's give the people what they want. But let's also give fighters what they deserve. And like I said, there's no way that he lost to Zhang and lost to Parker, and he should wind up getting a shot at AJ and not one of them. He should wind up getting a shot at Usyk and not one of them. That makes zero sense whatsoever. Now, also, another thing that I looked at is the guy that Dubois just beat. That's another potential fight for Wilder. And he's not the most, sharp boxer. He can punch, has some quickness to his hands, but he's repetitive. So I'm looking at guys like that. But at the same time, for Wilder, I just think it's, for me, in all honesty, I just think it's just too little too late. I think he just let too much time go by. And, the way he lost his Zhang, he turned his back and was, literally talking to the referee after he got punched. And, he just, look at his body language. Wilder doesn't want to go through tough, grueling fights anymore. He never wanted to. That's why he fought the way he did. But, the heart that he had to do it, the heart, now, it's a difference, like I said, when you step up in competition. And you don't have the same confidence that I can beat this guy the same way I beat those other guys. Like example, Pernell Whitaker, when he fought Chavez, people said he's not going to be able to play with Chavez. Chavez is too strong. Chavez is serious. He's the real deal. He's going to come at Pernell, and Pernell's going to have to run, stick and move, and never let Chavez catch up to him. And he stood right in front of Chavez, and he made it look easy. They robbed Pernell and called that a draw, but everybody with two good eyes, even with one half good eye, knows there's no way in hell that was a draw. Pernell won that fight hands down. And so at the end of the day, you have to look at what's realistic, y'all. You have to look at what's really going on, not what you want it to be, but what it actually is. So, when I look at those type of situations and you look at who's out there, there's really nobody out there. Like, it's limited names. And, to my point, what I was saying about Pernell, is like, Pernell played with Chavez like he played with anybody else. And Chavez was like this monster back in the day. That's how people saw him. Like, you just can't beat Chavez. So at the end of the day, and that was my point even with Roy Jones when he was trying to discredit Floyd Mayweather. I said, okay, you saying that 50-0 don't mean nothing. Chavez had 60-something wins or whatever it was before he finally lost one. Okay, so what? Pernell Whitaker had way less fights than Floyd did. Pernell Whitaker, when he fought Chavez, he only had 20-something fights. So, to your point, it doesn't make any difference. The point he's trying to say, okay? And to be perfectly honest with you, when you look at the way people say things and why they say it, I always pay attention to that because I try to understand the space that they're coming from. So, all of these things about what somebody did or didn't do, and I have another video on that. But pretty much what it really comes down to is, we want to see Wilder. Look, with Wilder, the question has always been, not even a question, it was, okay, Wilder, we saw you knock out Gerald Washington, come from behind him. When we've seen all those, but these are lower level fighters. We want to see you do this against top level guys. And that's where he failed to do it. So we all see Wilder for who he is. We see Wilder for what he is, stylistically, overall ability. And we already knew that he lacked boxing fundamentals, even basic boxing fundamentals. But he did, he worked with what he had. And this is what I'm saying. There's really nothing that Wilder can do that's going to elevate him. The most that can happen is he land a punch on somebody and get him out of there. But as we saw, it's not as simple as people make it seem like it is. So, after, and I don't even really have to say after Wilder, because even while Wilder was here, he never proved himself to be the top guy ever. He was said to be one of the top, but when you look at it, basically we base everything on him, on what he did with Fury, and then just knocking out a bunch of guys that pretty much didn't mean anything. So, that being said, y'all, I just feel like for Wilder, man, I'm saying his career is what it is. And show these, heartless, idiotic fans and he's accountable for his own actions, but help him go get himself brain damage or something, I really think Wilder should pack it up. And like I said, it's one thing when you see a fighter improve, and you don't know if they improved enough to still fight with the elite, but there's never been any improvement with Wilder. And let's just be real. Everybody has said, the majority of people have said, under the training of Malik Scott, Wilder has not improved, and we all saw it. Wilder would be, 39 years old this October. So do you really think, what is he going to do? Is he going to keep Malik Scott? Does he go with someone else? And Wilder is the type of fighter that just can't absorb information. He can only do what he knows how to do, and it's very limited. So, what does it take him? We're back to the, if he lands the right hand. Well, we saw him land it on Zhang, and Zhang didn't go anywhere. You understand what I mean? So, it's like I told you guys. When you put yourself in a position to avoid the big fights, and then all of a sudden you become desperate, now you need these fights, but it's like you have to fight to get these fights. You have to go through these hurdles now. The things you should have been doing. Building up your skills, building up your confidence, facing all of these different top styles. But he didn't do that. So, case in point, I think Wilder waited way too long. And at this point in his career, there's nothing else that he can do that he didn't already do. And I just feel like Wilder's done. Not because I feel like he's deteriorated and he's not the same fighter, but because it is possible that can be a part of it. He's slipping now, but overall, he's the same fighter to me. Now, what's inside could be different, but same skill level, same Wilder. Speed, whatever, everything, same Wilder. Same Wilder. It's just that now, he had to fight two top guys back to back. And he failed. Simple. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys now, and I'll be back with some more boxing talk.